district and the addition of 2 additional lights. Now is the time to do it. You can go to the microphone and give your name and address for the record.
Yeah, I'm Alan Meeks, 2302 William, and I got the number 2 light being put up on the pole in front of it, so I approve that. I have no problem with it.
Okay. Thank you for coming.
I would like to mention, too, on the further end of that street, I see a little circle with a partial orange color in it. That's a dark area in that street still. So I don't know if that was anything approved for that area. It's in between Pasadena and McCartney. It's in that little section right there. So you might want to bring that up later on or whatever. I know you're going to put the 2 in, so that's a good thing.
Okay, thank
And
you.
I approve it. And I appreciate you guys.
Thank you very much. Are there any other comments? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing at 7:11. Is that right? 09, according to the computer. Clerk Rowe, would you read the resolution, please?
I have a resolution 2017-16, amendment to the Lakeview Streetlight District number 207, whereas on or about March 27, 2017, the Township Clerk, me, received a request from the Lakeview Neighborhood Watch asking the Township Board for additional LED street lighting on William Avenue between Pasadena Avenue and Emerson Avenue for the Lakeview subdivision, consisting of 152 parcels in Ypsilanti Township, and for the amendment of Special Assessment District number 207 for the purpose of defraying said costs of the street lighting by special assessments against the property specific benefit. And whereas the Township Clerk requested Detroit Edison proposed plans describing the street light improvement and the location of said improvements with an estimate of said costs. And whereas on March 28, 2017, Lance Elliott of Detroit Edison Community Lighting Group prepared and submitted proposed plans to install 2 street lights on William Avenue between Pasadena and Emerson Avenue for the Lakeview subdivision, Ypsilanti Township, consisting of 152 parcels, which said plans include inter alia the installation of 2 overhead fed 65-watt auto band LEDs with gray housings mounted on 6-foot arms attached to 1 existing wood pole and 1 new pole, with the cost of said improvements being approximately $2,798 for the construction. The lamp charges are $879.12 for 3 years. So there's a contribution. It's 3 years of revenue is subtracted of $1,918.89 for a final total annual lamp charges of $293.04. Whereas on May 11, 2017, the Township Clerk received notification from the Township Assessor that the cost of providing the streetlights for the Lakeview subdivision, Ypsilanti Township, consisting of the 152 parcels, with said plans included inter alia the installation of the 2 overhead fed 65-watt auto band LEDs with gray housings on the 6-foot arms attached to 1 existing pole and 1 new pole will be $3.20 per parcel for a 10-year period. Thereafter, the said cost shall be $1.93 per parcel for the street lighting based on the general benefit. And whereas the Township Clerk has given notice to each record owner of or party of interest in property to be assessed by first-class mail addressed to the record owner of party and interest at the address shown in the tax records at least 10 days before the June 20th, 2017 public hearing, setting forth the district affected in said request, place and purpose of said public hearing to allow any interested person an opportunity to voice any objection which may be offered against creating the said district. And whereas the Township Clerk has also published in a newspaper general circulation the time, place, purpose of the hearing, and the district affected, and whereas on June 20th, the Ypsilanti Township held a public hearing to hear any objections which may be offered against amending the special assessment district. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Charter Township Ypsilanti determines that the request filed by the Neighborhood Watch members of the Lakeview subdivision, consisting of the 152 parcels on March 27, 2017, is sufficient for all purposes set forth pursuant to Act 188 of the Public Acts of 1954 as amended. Be it further resolved that Special Assessment District number 207 be amended for the purpose of providing the street lights for the Lakeview subdivision of 152 parcels, and be it further resolved the Township Board accepts the plans and estimates of cost as presented by Detroit Edison for the Lakeview subdivision consisting of 152 parcels, which said plans included inter alia, the installation of 2 overhead-fed 65-watt Autobahn LEDs with gray housings mounted on 6-foot arms attached to 1 existing wood pole and 1 new wood pole will be $3.20 per parcel for 10 years, and thereafter the said cost should be estimated at $1.93 per parcel for the street lighting based on the general benefit. And be it further resolved that the Township Supervisor shall make a special assessment upon all the lands and premises contained herein to defray the expenses of lighting said streets. And be it further resolved that the Township Board shall herein annually determine on or before September 30th of each year the amount to be assessed in the said district for lighting said streets and shall direct the Township Assessor to levy such amounts therein. And be it further resolved that when the special assessment roll has been prepared and filed in the office of the Township Clerk, before said assessment roll has been confirmed, the Township Board shall appoint a time and place when it will meet, review, and hear any objections to the assessment roll, and be it further resolved, the Township Board shall give notice of said hearing and filing of assessment roll in a manner prescribed by statute. I would so move Resolution 2017-16, amending the Lakeview Streetlight District number 207.
Support.
Motion Rowe, support Doe. Are there other comments?
Madam Chair,
Trustee Gerald Rowe.
discussed is in the work session meeting, I brought up the same light place as Mr. Meeks did, and I just don't know if that's something we would look at in the future, or at this point we've already done the public hearing for these two, so if it'd be more beneficial to go ahead and do that. But I think moving forward, maybe next, if we're going to implement those two, maybe we could look at the spacing in the future and just figure out how to do that so we're not redoing the whole process. Because it is at a main entrance, and I know that one of the residents said it would help with the lighting of the cameras that are at the entranceways of their neighborhood, and this would also, I think, contribute to that. So that's all.
Technically, we can't add, I don't think, right. So, but we should look at it in a larger
Context.
Yeah, next time. This was a request from one of the residents that lives there, and she's neighborhood watch coordinator, I think. So, like Karen said, they'll probably be back, and each time they have to create another. So it's a lot of work for assessing to do it as well. So it's a good point. Maybe we could suggest that in the future. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, we're going to do a roll call vote. Gerald Rowe?
Yes.
Eldridge?
Yes.
Ross Williams?
Yes.
Lovejoy Rowe?
Yes.
Stumbo votes yes. Doe?
Yes.
Wilson?
Yes.
The motion's carried. The next item is public comments. You're welcome to make your public comment at this time if you'd give your name and address for the record.
My name is Arlo Kaiser, live at 1421 Melvin Street. I'm here about Nexus Pipeline. Apparently, a couple weeks ago, there were 2 people nominated by the president for FERC, and they needed a quorum to get permission from FERC to go ahead with the Nexus Pipeline. I haven't heard if they have done anything yet, but I would encourage everyone to write to FERC or call them or whatever and say we do not want the pipeline in our township. Also, at the meeting, the town hall meeting last Tuesday, they suggested that we contact Attorney General Schuette, because if we get to him, he might try and do something, because apparently he wants to run for governor. So he might just use that as fodder for his following. And also, please contact the Michigan Public Service Commission, because they are the ones that allow the increases in money that gets paid to DTE, and apparently they want us to pay in the long run for part of this pipeline. So I would encourage you to talk to the Michigan Public Service Commission. They are very open to the public if you even want to go. They are very nice, very friendly. If you want to say something, you're allowed to say something. If you don't understand, usually after the meetings, they will come down and talk to you. They are very nice. So I would encourage everyone to do that. Otherwise, we're going to get stuck with the pipeline by the school, no odorification, and all that kind of nonsense, which they're saying, everybody's saying now, the reason DTE wants this increase is to pay for the Nexus pipeline, which means we're paying for it, because they're not really sure that it's going to be profitable. And DTE was saying on I believe it was the radio, that they were talking about possibly giving us some money back, a rebate for our gas, because we didn't use that much. They're going to get us one way or the other, so I encourage everyone to speak up for yourself.
Thank you, Ms. Kay. Hello. I'm Joanne McCullum. I live at 1900 Tyler Road, Ypsilanti Township. I just want to thank the board for all you do. You work very hard for us, and I know you get paid, but I still think you go over and beyond what is expected, so thank you. I especially want to thank you for the new tabulators. I am a chairperson election official. That's just going to make the job so much better, and being an election official in Ypsilanti Township is wonderful. We get the support that we need. We get the training we need. On the day of the election, there's no, you can call and you get answers. The people will show up and help you. It's just wonderful to be an election official and to know that everyone cares about the residents and their vote. And that's what it's about, to make sure that there's transparency, because there's no, the tabulator's not going to be messing up. Although I know that everything is clear and is counted, everyone's vote is counted, but I think this will just make it so much easier. And then we may even get more people to want to do this.
Oh.
So thank you. Thank you. Other questions?
Hi, Larry Krieg of 252 Carriage Way. I am your representative on the Ann Arbor Area Transportation Authority Board, and I wanted to report to you a number of changes that are going to be taking place at the end of August. I have put out some schedule proofs. These are proof copies. They're at the back for anybody who's interested in that. And members of the board have a packet that includes those. One is the express ride between the somewhere in the James L. Hard and Joe Hall Drive area and downtown Ann Arbor Medical Center and other job centers. Now, one of the things that I had learned a couple of years ago is that within the southeast Michigan area, one of the very busiest flows of commuters from one municipality to the other, actually the largest except for two, is between Ypsilanti Township and the city of Ann Arbor. And it's over 8,000 people every day. This express ride is obviously not going to go anywhere near to putting a dent in that, but I think it's a good start. One of the problems is that so far there is no specific place for the bus to pick people up, because agreement has to be made with the owners of the parking lots in that area, and that apparently has not been reached yet. I don't have the details on why or why not. Another, I suppose you might consider an issue, is that there are only going to be 2 buses going in the morning and 2 coming back in the evening. I think it's a start. I'm not sure that it will be enough to entice people, because you need a certain, I guess you could call it a critical mass of service before people are likely to want to come.
But in any case, those are scheduled to start at 6:18 and 7:16 a.m. and return at 4:22 and 5:42. And my understanding is that those times were based primarily on the hospital shift hours. Yeah. Now, one thing that I've noticed at the bottom is the price of this being $6.25 each way. I had no idea that that was what they were planning to charge, but I'm just a little bit afraid that that would be a disincentive for an awful lot of people. Now, one of the other things that is going to be done is to have a pilot project of what is called a DRT. And my colleague here who spoke earlier about a DRT, this is a very different DRT. It's demand response transit. And the idea is to find a way to provide service to people who live in the southern part of the township where the population density is not very great. And this is a kind of service that has been provided in a number of other areas. I have learned that the University of Michigan School of Architecture and Urban Planning had a capstone project that did a very thorough study of the possible ways of providing service to that area. The complete report from that, I've made a copy of that for you, and it is, I think, 146 pages. So there's only one copy, but those of you who want the details, it is there available. The summary that I gave you here is much, much shorter and includes the highlights. The basic idea is that there are a number of ways that you can have people call in on the phone or online and ask to have a van come to some place, not necessarily your front door, but to a corner near you, where you can be picked up and taken somewhere within the area, which is basically south of Textile Road down to the township line. There's possibility, which I don't know if it's been decided yet, about serving Lincoln High in some way, shape, or form, which would probably be useful to the people in the school district there. One of the things that I think is actually most important is what I put on the very back of the packet that I've given to the trustees there. And that is, how do we decide whether it's worth it? As I mentioned, this is a pilot project. It is supposed to last 3 years. There is a contract that has been awarded by AAATA to a subsidiary of Golden Limo. And the contract is, I'm not sure what the technical terms are, so Doug, please forgive me if I get it wrong, but the idea is that after each year there will be a re-examination of whether we want to go ahead with it. But the understanding is it'd be a 3-year trial period. After that, how do we know if we want to go ahead and keep doing this? Let me just say very briefly that the funding for this comes out of the general fund of AAATA, which is made up of federal, state, local dollars, and rider fares, plus grants here and there. And for that reason, AAATA's board of directors has a responsibility to make sure the money is being spent wisely. But residents of the township are both paying for it through their assessment and also benefiting from it, we hope. So I believe it's very important for the township's board and leadership to have a role in deciding whether this service is really meeting a need, whether the money is better spent in other ways, serving the township maybe in a different area, maybe in a different way. So what I've done is to put together a few thoughts on this last page about some things you might be thinking about in terms of the contract, whether the service meets the township's goal, whether it meets the residents' needs, and whether it is cost effective in whatever way you as elected leaders consider to be effective. And hopefully you'll be able to follow along, see what's going on, get reports from AAATA and from me, and let me know how you want me to present this to the other members of the board. So if you have any questions, be glad to field them either now or at some other time. Other than that, I'm okay.
Are there questions?
Madam Chair, I have a couple.
Trustee Monica?
Thank you. The last page, I think, is under the paragraph under costs. It says that the township doesn't pay any money directly through it, but the residents do through a 0.7 mil assessment. So here's my question on that. Is that assessed now, or would that be a new assessment? Okay.
It's a voted millage.
Okay, gotcha.
Mhm.
And then the other question that I had is, it's based on, I guess, the statistical data, is that in the pilot area, I think it's somewhat as 99% car ownership, and then the 60, I guess, upwards of 64% of the residents would be elderly. So who is the target market for this? Is it maybe elderly residents that don't want to drive their cars? Okay, because I was just wondering who's the target market.
Yeah, and in general, people who are either too young to drive, too old to drive, people who would rather not drive because maybe they can't afford to have enough cars for every individual in the family to drive. That would be the idea. But, of course, you know, we have to see, and that's why it's a pilot project.
Okay, thank you. And then I have one more question about the express ride. This one starting. Is this also a pilot? Because I was just curious because I know the cash fare is like $6.25 each way. You do that times 12. It's like $12.50. So is this a pilot or is this permanent?
I should have mentioned at the beginning that all of these changes are part of the 5-year transit improvement program that was voted in 4 years ago. And we are, this express ride was one of the very last of the new services. So as to whether it's a pilot it's not specifically a pilot project in the sense that it was promised as part of what you were voting for when you voted for the millage. Could it be discontinued? Obviously.
Madam Chair.
Trustee Giroux?
I was just curious, the express ride piece, which is interesting that it was one of the last to be implemented. As someone who works at the University Hospital, I could tell you many stories about parking and how it's a huge problem there. But so I was just wondering, the paper we have here, it doesn't have an end time. And I also thought the start time was interesting picked because half of the workforce, we have nearly 6,000 nurses there, and a majority of them, their shift starts at 7:30, and so even if you did the express ride, which there are tons of people who would be interested in doing this, I think, they wouldn't get to their shift on time. But most importantly, what time does the service end, I guess?
The first morning run that leaves wherever the park and ride will be is supposed to leave at 6:18 and get to Mott Hospital at 6:38.
I missed that.
Uh-huh.
That's definitely there.
And the return, there are only two. It doesn't run all day. So your second run, I suppose, is for more the administrators who would start at 8, I suppose, because it gets to Mott at 7:40. And then the return trip is, one is at 3:51. I suppose that would work for people, I suppose that would work for people whose shift ends at 3:30. Is that a reasonable
Yeah,
assumption?
many people, I guess, we could probably talk about this some other
Okay,
time, but many
sure.
of the people end, they work 7 to 7. That's a large majority of that population. I mean, and many of those 6,000 members live in Ypsilanti Township.
Yeah.
It just seems like a community benefit. It might not seem like a benefit to our residents all the time if you look at it just specifically for your individual needs, but if you think about your needs every time you or your neighbors go to the hospital, like a community public health look, I guess, at it. But if your, first line providers are late to work or can't park, can't get there, your service and your health care will eventually be impacted by that. So I could get into news about this, but I won't.
Yeah, I'm really very concerned about how well our service really fits the needs of people. And there's a new director of planning coming in to replace Chris White, who was a tremendous asset. But with maybe a new perspective, we might be able to relook at things and make sure that we're getting it right.
Other comments or questions?
I don't really know, and this isn't about you, Larry, but is there anywhere else in the plan where people had to pay for the implementation of the process? Do you know? I'm kind of shocked about how much. No one ever said there was going to be like some huge charge for the express ride.
Well,
I don't know if there's other.
Yeah.
So my question is, all the different services have been rolled out, and we did know this was going to be the last. These two were going to be the last ones, but I never heard anybody say, "Oh yeah, by the way, you're going to pay this huge amount for that." So I don't know if there's other parts of the plan where folks have to pay this kind of rate.
I know that when the Chelsea and the Canton Express services first went in a few years ago, they were charging $5 each way.
Well, I can see that because they're not paying 0.7 mils, but I know. So maybe we could set up a meeting to talk with folks, because I find that really, it's just ingenuous, because no one ever, does anyone ever recall there was going to be I could imagine there'd be a charge, but I didn't recall that it would be this amount. That's one thing.
Yeah, for the, my personal feeling, I was shocked as well.
Right.
And I totally agree with you that I think it's way over the top.
To make it work, we need to talk to the folks that we're trying to ride and figure out, like what is fair compared to what they could pay if they drive their car, and knowing that, something along that line. And then my other question was, when is the South Side dial, that ridership thing rolling out? Is that in August too?
It will. I think it'll start a little bit later than that, but to be honest, I think they don't have a start date quite fixed yet. I think they're still working out details.
And that really was, I know it's for old and young or whatever, but really that was because during the whole process, because that was the one part of the township, even though everybody out there is paying their 0.7 mils, and we knew that we couldn't afford, there would be not as much participation, and so this was a chance to try to say, because they supposedly can get on the call and then get brought to anywhere, like to the Textile Road, like if I live way out there and I don't have a way to get to the bus transportation, I could do that. We also talked about van service. A big issue was carpooling with kids, to Lincoln schools because it's so far away, and that maybe they could have, 6 people who are picking up the bus to get home from wrestling practice. So we did talk about that they would service Lincoln schools. So I'd be interested in getting more detail on that when it starts too. So
Yeah. Okay.
maybe you can set up a meeting for us to talk about the express ride and those other stuff. You know, glad to do that.
Okay, I will pass that along. Glad to do it.
Larry, thank you for bringing this forward as our representative. Because Lincoln School's not in the district that pays.
Right.
It's interesting because people who are in the Lincoln School District do pay, right? If they live in the township,
In the township.
they pay the millage to support AAATA in general,
Right.
right? So,
But what we talked about was like
Yeah.
they could get on that thing, when it was that, they could go, like they could go from Lincoln schools to the areas. Like you can't go from Lincoln schools to Augusta. You have to take the ride back. The van would have to bring you back to a township resident. And they talked about carpooling and stuff for kids that, after school activities and stuff like that.
yeah, unfortunately, I was not a part of the discussions with that, so.
No, I didn't think it made it into the plan because I know Karen, you in particular, was really pushing the service out to the Lincoln School, which I can understand, but Augusta doesn't pay, the taxes, and that was an issue that was discussed at that time.
Yeah, and you're right on the bus didn't make it, but the ride service, I thought we had said that they could make it in their vans, because I remember specifically saying it'd be great for kids after school, not the bus. But anyways, obviously the details aren't worked out anyway, so.
And a lot of the discussion happened many years ago and is really open and flexible for
Yeah.
discussion.
And the only thing I would caution people, because we've been through this, we did a pilot project to the district library, and when they did not fund it, people were very, very upset. So that's what I'm not worried about anyone using the express one. That's just too much doggone money, in my opinion, to use, I don't know how much they pay, but I know there's a lot of nurses, of course, but there's also a lot of custodial staff, food staff that live in our areas that commute to U of M. So I do think there's enough to make it, worthwhile, but I'm not sure about that cost. What is it?
That's wild.
Yeah, who came up with that price? Did you vote on that, Larry?
No.
Okay, good.
This is...
I'm kidding.
I know, but part of this is because the board at AAATA has been talking about and has finally decided to use policy governance as our model. And those of you who may be familiar with that, the idea is that a board should be kind of at what they describe as a 6,000-foot level. I have trouble with that. But that's the general idea. And the details of operation are kind of sealed off, not sealed off, but they're separated from the board. And, my feeling is the devil is very often in the details.
Right.
And we need to have, but we're in it. We voted last Thursday night.
And it's been helpful, very helpful for residents.
For some.
But that's fine if they want to sell that on the next millage, but they didn't sell that on this millage. And this millage did not have any kind of talk about, I know people got to pay, but not this kind of exuberant charges for that express. No one ever mentioned that. People should have known that when they voted. And we pushed all the time about the 8,000 people, the trouble with parking, and how this would be a great access to get people. It doesn't just help the people who are riding. It helps everybody else who's going because you're getting less cars, in the environment. Trying to get down, during rush hour to Ann Arbor is insane. And so we want people to use this. It would be great if we could have all 8,000 of U of M employees, whether it's a college or university. That's 8,000 cars, which is 16,000 trips, maybe even more per day if they leave and go out for lunch or whatever off the road. So anyways, we'll be interested in talking to the director because I know he wasn't here when it got sold, but so maybe we just need to remind them.
Yeah.
That was not the plan.
To handle all 8,000, I'm afraid we'd need a hyperloop.
No, I know.
We're not, yeah.
I know.
We're supposed to be an alternative. Mr. Winters has a comment.
I said a question to the board, and maybe, I don't know, Larry, if I'm asking this question correctly, but back when the township decided to go in with the AAATA, we did have a funding agreement that we executed with them at the time to expand that to the AAA. And there was one provision in that agreement that talks about, because we had a lot of conversations at the time, as Clerk Rowe indicated, about some of these issues about policy and long-term decisions. And I understand this may be a look back after a 3-year period, but there was a provision, and they may mention that any major long-term decisions, and 3 years may be long-term, and depending, look at that, dealing with public policy actions concerning transportation services, whether or not they represent financial expenditures, AAATA will apprise the Township Board and solicit its advice prior to making the decision. Now, I don't know if this provision is supposed to be, I don't know if the representative, like yourself, is deemed to be, I think we were very specific that we put that language in there that they had to solicit the Township Board's input prior to making these type of decisions. I'm not trying to, weigh in on the merits of what they're trying to propose. But I do think that what Clerk Rowe has brought up, I think were some of the issues that we had in the back of our minds at the time we did that funding agreement, and we wanted to be able not necessarily to say thumbs up or thumbs down or veto that policy action, but at least to have them come here and make their case as to why they should proceed on any kind of a major policy decision, even if it didn't involve expenditures. In this case, it may result in a payment being, or a toll fee type thing being exacted on the residents. I'm just wondering if this has been part of that discussion, this funding agreement, because if it's not, maybe it should be looked at. I'm just not really sure exactly how it's been. I know there's been changeover, people come and go sometimes, but we did have a very specific funding agreement in place.
Yeah, there will be no additional charge to the residents as a whole for this service. This is part of this service that was rolled out as part of the millage that was voted on in 2014, in May of 2014. But I totally agree that whether or not an extra charge is made, that the township needs to have a voice in the process, and whether that is through myself, or in this case, I think it should have been through the leadership of the staff at AAATA that should have been a little bit more closely in touch with the leadership team here to let them know what was being contemplated. So I will definitely take that back to Mr. Carpenter and let him know how you have felt about it and that you would like to meet.
The 6,000 feet look is not something that, I don't think that's working well.
I don't think it would. Well, to be fair, we haven't really tried it, but I have fought against that
Well,
since the
I
beginning.
appreciate I think they tried it here, but we
No,
really
they didn't
appreciate
try it. They just didn't. They didn't do what they should have been doing all along, regardless of governance model.
Well, yeah, the thing on that express route, like if it doesn't, like I don't know, Heather's probably a great person. We probably should have her working with us on that because she has access to come up, like what would a custodian pay? What would a nurse pay? Unfortunately, I don't know. This is like a doctor rate or something,
Yes.
And we need because we want it to be successful. Because the worst thing would be for it to not be successful, and then it's like, okay, now what do? We got that money for that, so we're going to use it in another program. I want this program to be successful.
Yeah.
These are our residents, and the idea was that residents could drive from all over Ypsilanti Township and the city of Ypsilanti to where this park and ride is, and jump on that bus and get there, but not if it's too much, and I don't know what's
gonna
too
do
much, but I know that people, like, I would know how much is too much for me based on what I would make. So that's what we need to do, because it's got to be successful, because it's a great idea. It'll just really help. So I really appreciate you coming,
Thank you.
and look forward to hearing from
I
Mr.
will
Carpenter.
hope to come back more often.
Yeah, and hopefully you can
And,
come when we meet with them.
Yeah, good.
Great, don't you
I would
think?
hope to be. I have asked them, please to let me know when they communicate with you, because in the past there have been communications that I've been unaware of, and it's hard for me to do my job if I don't know this. So I appreciate your willingness to work together so that we can make this whole thing
Oh, yeah.
work.
And like I,
You want to look, yes.
yeah, we
We got a
do.
millage up next year. I just heard they're going in August, so
That's
18.
Yeah, that's the you would know as the
I
clerk.
just heard they announced the leader,
Yeah.
Eastern leaders yesterday, so
Yeah.
like a little over a year from now.
Yeah, well, it expires. It was a 5-year millage. So if we want to keep the service, we're going to have to keep
Right.
the funding. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
I'm sorry, he can stay, I'm sorry, sorry, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure real quick that I broke down the costs for the flex ride. So you're looking at $3,250 a year. That's $6,250 a week and $270 a month. If a person at U of M, because not everyone is a nurse and a doctor, they do have janitorial staff, they have environmental cleaning, they have, people that make
Food service.
food service that make low wages. I mean, like their food service is contracted out, I believe, as if I still have it correct, to Earmark. So, so basically, they may be making somewhere between $9 and $11 an hour, which gives them about $22,000, $24,000 maybe a year. If that's the case, then $3,250 takes a lot out of their paycheck. So, I mean, I'm just making this point because I don't personally know, and I'm not directing this towards you, because I know you didn't set the cost. But I don't know who personally came up with the idea of $6.25 each way, and want people to use this. But not everyone that works at the U of M actually would have a salary. And even nurses, they have other things they have to do too, and I'm sure doctors do too, but may not have the capacity in order to be able to pay $3,250 a year for a flex ride. To me, I'll be honest, this says failure, and they need to go back and they really need to look at that rate.
You pay $125 a year for the pass?
That's per month.
That's per month. Yeah.
Larry, I think I want to, me and Stan were like talking over here about this, but I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, that the University of Michigan staff, regardless if you're a nurse, doctor, custodian, clerk, you get to ride for free. Unless this is different, but every other bus line you're allowed to ride for free. And what it doesn't address is our patients and our community members who are going to the hospital to receive these services. They absolutely don't always have those funds, but at least as far as, every spectrum of work, or unless I'm wrong, Larry, and please correct me if I am, the university, you can swipe your badge and you get on for free, no matter what.
That's certainly true of all the regular buses, but there is a rate that the AAATA and the university negotiate that is something like $1. I think right now it's like $1.07 that the university pays for every swipe. So I don't know whether that would whether that's included in this, and we need to double check on it. But I really hear you loud and clear about this price being an unsustainable price point for most of the target market.
Well, if you want it to succeed, you have to price it correctly.
Right. Otherwise, you're going to be running around a lot of empty seats.
Thank you.
Larry, do you have a copy of the transportation funding agreement? Do you have a copy of
No, I don't. If you could forward it. That's the U of M study, but...
I don't want this. I mean, I was asking if you have a copy of the agreement I was referring to that we entered into with the ATA.
I certainly should, but I don't. So if that could be forwarded to me,
Good.
I would make an attempt to read it every night before I go to bed.
Not as long as that document. It's only a few pages, really.
Okay. Thank you so much, Larry. We greatly appreciate you. All right. We have any other public comments? I would like to say, for those who are not aware, we had a sudden death of one of our employees, Debbie Adgorney. She was deputy treasurer, and she was with us for about 24 years, and she had a massive heart attack and passed away. So we were closed on Wednesday for the funeral services. It was a shock to us. So I just want to recognize that and thank Giovanna and everyone that's pulling together to help get the tax bills out and get things prepared for the agenda. And it's been a tough time in Ypsilanti Township. We have a consent agenda. We have the minutes of the May 16th work session, regular meeting, and executive session, and the statements and checks, and the May treasurer's report.
Support.
Motion Rowe, support Doe to approve the consent agenda. Are there any questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Under the attorney's report, is there any general legal update? No? Okay, new business.
Just a couple of quick updates. In regards to the ACM, I just wanted to at least acknowledge the hard work and effort not only of the board, but Mike Radzik has been, in many ways, kind of like the point person in trying to integrate all of these different entities, and with having some new professional consultants on hand in regards to overseeing everything, it's really a Herculean task. It's also a very, very important task because we discussed in one of our meetings just recently that we all can look back and remember seeing some of the photographs back when Henry Ford was walking around with FDR's people when they were just simply staking out the property to build the bomber plant. Just what a historic time that was. And sometimes when you're in the midst of actually seeing history being made, you don't always appreciate that because of the fact that it's happening in real time. And so they're moving an awful lot of dirt out there. They have equipment that I've never seen before in regards to what they're doing out there. It's going to be an absolutely first of its kind in this country, and it's going to be one that's going to once again make the Bull Run property very, very relevant in terms of the new age of autonomous vehicles. I just wanted to point that out in regards to what Mike has been doing, because he stepped up into a situation that he may not always have asked to do in the past, but in terms of his oversight, but his leadership has been outstanding. We've actually also, I think, acquired a drone, because right now we don't have the ability sometimes to be on that site to take the photographs, and we're trying to make sure we can document what's occurring out there. So down the road, when you have individuals like Heather Rowe, Jimmy Wilson, Monica, to be here many years from now, perhaps they can actually have a recorded history of what actually took place back in 2017, because it's going to be a legacy and it's going to be a testament to this township to have that history documented, and actually someday be sit back like we did, look at Henry Ford's time out there and know that in 2017 we had all this earth being moved, new structures being built for what now, maybe in the future, will become something that will be an everyday acceptance of having autonomous vehicles, drones, driverless vehicles, maybe even flying around in the air in your own private Jetson type vehicle. But again, I want to point out just an excellent job that Mike has done, and really trying to shepherd this through, because it's had some very, very intense challenges trying to keep all the parties together. And then on the second point, and why I went running after Lieutenant Morocco, and this is something that's been on my mind for quite some time, and it's come to maybe the forefront in light of what I saw and been watching in regards to the NBC national news. And I think it's time maybe for the township board to see exactly what level of interest we have in trying to actually do something in a way that we know is a serious problem, not only on the national level, but here in Washtenaw County. And I'm talking exactly about the opiate and heroin overdose. On the NBC National News, they've been reporting, even to our state, to the immediate south of us, Ohio, right now, that Montgomery County has now been labeled the overdose capital of the United States. The state of Ohio is on the pace to have 10,000 overdose deaths in 2017, 10,000 individuals. The New York Times has reported right now that last year there were 52,000 people in the United States, most of them under the age of 50, that overdosed on heroin and fentanyl, other types of opiates. Right now they project that number will increase to 62,000 individuals in 2017. Right now, according to the information being presented in the national news, overdoses are the leading cause of death for Americans under 50. They now claim more lives than car crashes, gun deaths, and the AIDS virus did at their peaks. According to the report, the synthetic opiate fentanyl is being illegally produced from China. It's being transported to Mexico. From there, it's coming from the drug cartels into the gangs throughout the United States for distribution to individuals, our residents. How does it relate to Washtenaw County, and why does it relate to what I'm talking about tonight? Well, right now, that same epidemic overdose is also occurring here in Washtenaw County, and it's certainly occurring in 48197 and 48198 zip codes, primarily eastern Washtenaw County, be it the city of Ypsi, Ypsi Township, Superior Township. These are just coming out of the Washtenaw County Public Health report that the opiate deaths increased in 2016. The final number in 2016 for Washtenaw County residents was 59 individuals, which is 20% higher than the 49 for 2015. In the opiate overdose deaths for Washtenaw County residents have increased 100% between 2011 and 2016. The median age of death among females decreased, but the median age of death for males increased. Washtenaw County residents who were admitted to St. Joe Hospital for unintentional opiate-related overdoses increased 154% between 2011 and 2016. And again, probably close to 50% of these deaths are occurring in 48197, 48198 zip codes. We've had recent deaths, again, in Ypsilanti Township because of the opiate overdose. We've had some success stories with the Washtenaw County Sheriff's Department having the antidote Narcan, I think if I'm saying that correctly, that's actually been able to reverse the effects of the overdosage, but it's not always been on time. And even then, from what I've been reading, sometimes it takes repeated injections of Narcan to sort of reverse the effects because of what's going on with the fentanyl. Now, at this point in time, I guess all I'm trying to lead up to is, I know with schools out right now, this being under the age of 50, 18 to 24, it seems to be a very, very, prime age group for this problem as well. That is there anything we can do as a township board? Can we provide a leadership forum? Can we have a public forum where we could have the stakeholders that could weigh in on this, be it the healthcare professionals, be it the law enforcement, be in schools, be in neighborhood watch groups? I don't know, and I don't pretend to have all the answers, but I do believe the time has come where it's at a critical point in time where doing nothing right now, or not saying any more than what we're saying, is just not enough. Now, I know people can sometimes, I saw where, I'm not being critical of anybody, but I did see where certain people in Ann Arbor had a rally in regards to making sure that the Paris Paris Climate Treaty was enforced. That's great. I support that. I believe in global warming can't necessarily affect what's going on with that at the federal level. This is happening in our backyard, our front yards. It's affecting people that we know personally, people that we know, our neighbors. The devastation that's going on is happening every day, the medical profession is being impacted by it. And we've had cases tonight. We got one person making a meth lab on East Grand Boulevard. The other people selling heroin. So, I don't know. Again, I know everybody's busy. I know we got our hands full, our plates full. I just think that this data is coming at us right now to a point where I think maybe the township can be a focal point, to have that kind of a forum. And that's why I wanted you to stay, Lieutenant, because I know you have a lot of first-hand knowledge on this. I'm not saying everything accurately, because in a short period of time I'm trying to compress everything perhaps. But I just wanted to bring to the board's attention that I think right now that we've seen enough and that we have to do something.
Mike Morocco, Lieutenant with the Sheriff's Office. I can tell you that I agree wholeheartedly with what you're saying. And the Sheriff's Office, as you know, we've been at the forefront of trying to battle this epidemic for several years now. We've used non-traditional methods to try and combat this, the drug courts, interventions with, to where now one of the biggest successes that we have talking about naloxone or Narcan is not only administering the dose, which we've done approximately 60 times since we've equipped all our deputies, but the follow-up or aftercare to that was really a credit to Commander Marlene Radzik. And what we do now is we immediately engage a social worker there, and we immediately engage with Dawn Farm and get that person directly in touch with a social worker at that time of the incident, instead of, well, get them to the hospital, get them where they're back feeling better, which is incredibly almost instantaneous. And so that they have the resources immediately upon coming out of that traumatic incident, which wasn't the case before. What used to happen several years ago is they would have that incident, and then a social worker would follow up with them the next day or 2 days later, when in a lot of cases, not the majority, but a lot of cases, the person wouldn't be receptive to the help that was being offered because they were back into addiction. Usually that can be used, in my experience anyway, I'm not a doctor, but that incident usually can be used as a place to make an intervention. So I agree, 100% strides are being made. There's more that we can be done, but I think most of it's on the education side. So maybe that's some place that we can get together on, and like you said, do a forum on it and get the word out some other ways. There are a couple things on the agenda that are coming down the pike that are basically, I hate to bring it up, but pilot project, another, don't want to get that out there, Larry. But that are being worked on right now. So I'm in agreement with you, and the Sheriff's Office obviously wants to be a partner in this. Thank you.
Does that conclude your attorney's report?
I just would think that we can talk about it maybe some other time, but just try and get an action plan together, perhaps. I don't know. I know we say this, and I just kind of feel strong that maybe we got to take it to a different level, to another level of all the stakeholders.
Under new business, budget amendment number 9. Sorry. Oh, Ms. Kaiser.
Yes, Arlo Kaiser, 1421 Melvin Street. I would like to say that the Neighborhood Watch people seem to be doing a good job with some of these houses, like the meth lab. That was a known house. They see something instead of, not the snitch bit. Now it's see something and say something. Also, the Sheriff's Department is trying to get the young kids involved to keep them away from drugs. And there's, with community engagement and that type of thing. And hopefully the medical community, they have the power to do it, to find these doctors that are prescribing Vicodin, Oxycontin, all these kind of drugs. Because to write a prescription, the doctor has to have a special prescription number, and that was always to track what they were writing. Now, if the state or whoever the powers are to be that oversee that, something could stop a lot of that right there. Also, parents who are taking these drugs because of surgery or whatever, and watching their pill bottles so the little kids don't, or neighbor kids don't get it, or the workman who comes in your house to do something that says, can I use your bathroom to check out and see if you have drugs in your bathroom. Everybody has to be vigilant and work
And
together.
education. Thank you, Ms. Kaiser. Medical marijuana is a big issue too now. We want to talk. At the neighborhood watch meetings. There's a concern all the time about medical marijuana, which I believe is a gateway. And I know there's a big issue, and there's a ballot initiative, but I don't think people know how much it has affected our neighborhoods and our children. They're getting younger and younger. And the access to marijuana is ridiculous.
I was under the impression when it was initially voted in to be legal that they would have more restrictions on it, even almost like alcohol. Certain age, blah, blah, blah. I know kids can get alcohol these days anyway, but still have some more guidelines, restrictions.
Well, I thought it was going to be distributed out of CVS or Walgreens. I didn't know it was going to be grown and distributed in people's houses.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah, so I would like to add that to the educational part of it as well, because just last night's meeting, there's a woman who's making edibles, and she has it on Facebook and selling them right over the internet. Who does that? I mean, and how many kids won't know the difference when they have access, and the THC level is so high. And I know. Anyways, I'm sorry.
I actually saw
Park Row?
where you can buy fentanyl and heroin online. There was like a link and stuff, and then I just started looking. And it's unbelievable, international kind of stuff. So I don't know, Doug. I think it's if there's something that we can do, whether it's a forum or meet with some of the providers, maybe it'd be great if we could meet with some users to find out, like, why don't you want help? Is there not enough help out there? Is it too expensive? Like, why is it that this is
It's a devil's drug.
Maybe some folks who have
addiction.
who've been on the other side of it, what it took to get them involved. But I think that we can all get more educated. And also, it's a part of that kind of like what Ms. Kaiser's talking about. I know I'm working with the interrupters with the Sheriff's Department on Saturday, and they're really targeting Sugarbrook. They did not have enough folks to cover all the streets. So if anyone's interested or if you know anyone, you want to do a street over there, you can contact me, and I'll send it to Derek Jackson or some of the people who are coordinating that. And just let me know if you want to do your street or do a street in the Sugarbrook neighborhood. They're trying to get the rest of them out this weekend, Saturday.
Madam Chair, I would just add, if I could, that in regards to this issue, I think it's getting worse before it gets better. Senator Bob Portman, who is a U.S. Senator from Ohio, Republican, has been very, very critical of some of the provisions in the proposed health care bill that's going to be voted on, because it takes away a significant amount of funding in regards to drug rehabilitation and other issues that are going to basically be gutted out if those health care provisions are passed by Congress. So there's a lot of things that are happening that are going to continue to trickle down and have direct impact upon local communities, even under the guise of a health care reform. You're creating additional problems. The jails over there and prisons a lot of times are filled with people who really, it's a health care crisis as much as it is any kind of a legal or criminal crisis.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a health care problem. So they recognize that, and it's going to continue to be impacting our law enforcement personnel, people that really need treatment, education, and maybe medical treatment. And we all understand the criminal laws. We all want that enforced, but it is going to be a health care crisis. That's what I want to bring to the board's attention, because I think there's going to be things that are going to continue to impact our resources as a township in the days ahead in regards to this issue.
Okay, thank you. Under new business, budget amendment number 9 for Crow.
I have a motion to amend the 2017 budget, the number 9 amendment for this year. Move to increase the general fund budget by $102,325. That's $34,590 for the election, $40,816 for the mower, $1,919 for the street light on 2 streetlights on William, and $25,000 for a variety of different furniture needs in the township. And move to increase the fire fund by $9,350 That's for engineering for the parking lot and some other curb and other issues. The fire station to $5,098,019. Improve the line item changes as outlined. I would so move the budget amendment.
Support.
Motion Rowe, support Carol Rowe. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 2 is request approval of the First Amendment to the Comprehensive Development Agreement between Willow Run Arsenal of Democracy Land Holdings, which is a limited partnership, RAD, and the American Center for Mobility and the Charter Township Ypsilanti to extend the right of first refusal to acquire 22 acres of property owned by the township located adjacent to Tyler Pond.
So move.
Support.
Motion Rowe, support Doe. Are there questions or comments on it? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 3 is the request to amend the cooperative agreement between Washtenaw Urban County and Ypsilanti Township.
So move.
To approve.
Motion
Support.
Rowe. Support.
Wilson.
Support who?
Jimmy, I think.
Support.
Support Jimmy Wilson.
Trustee Wilson.
Any questions or comments on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 4 is Resolution 2017-13. Do you want to read the resolution or just do the motion? Authorizing the State of Michigan, Michigan Department of State, Charter Township of Ypsilanti, Washtenaw County Help America Vote Act, which is a HAVA grant application and agreement, including Schedule B licensing agreement for voting systems hardware, firmware, and software regarding a master contract 071B770012A, Hart Intercivic Incorporated.
So move.
Support.
Motion Rowe, support Doe. It's for the new election equipment agreement. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 5 is request authorization for the purchase of additional election equipment, which includes 5 additional tabulators, their batteries, and their battery chargers, and memory cards in the amount of $26,620, which is budgeted in line item 101-215-000-977-000. Training for clerk's office staff in the amount of $2,500, budget in line item 101-205-000-801-000, and line item 101-215-000-704-000.
Move to approve.
Support.
There's a motion to approve this large motion of the voting equipment, the extra equipment. Are there any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 6, Resolution 2017-14, which is a purchase tax for closed properties located at 1636 Bailey, 1212 East Clark, and 679 Calder Avenue in the amount of $43,721, which is budgeted in line item 101-950-000-969-011, all from the 2017 Washtenaw County Treasurer list of tax for closed properties under the right of first refusal.
So move.
Support.
There's a motion by Rowe, support by Wilson. Are there questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 7 is a resolution 2017-15, which is abandoned tax delinquent property.
So move.
Support.
Motion Lovejoy Rowe, support Gerald Rowe to approve the 2017 abandoned tax delinquent property. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 8 is a request of Mike Razett, Director of OCS, for authorization to seek legal action if necessary to abate public nuisances for property located at 1659 Wismer, 100 North Clubview, 881 Dons Drive, 553 Kansas, 1137 Nash, and 1814 Carol Ann, in the amount of $60,000, which is budgeted in line item 101-950-000-801-023.
Move to approve.
Support.
Motion Doe, support Eldridge. Questions or comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 9 is request of Mike Radzik, OCS Director, for authorization to seek legal action to abate public nuisances, drug houses by padlocking located at 2357 Ravenwood, 1645 Dorothy, and 555 East Grand Boulevard in the amount of $30,000, which is budgeted.
Motion to support?
Second.
Motion Gerald Rowe, support Ross Williams. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 10 is request of Eric Copeland, Fire Chief, for approval of a contract with OHM to provide professional engineering service for concrete repairs at Fire Station headquarters to include design, specification, creation of the bid package, and overseeing the bid process in an amount not to exceed $9,350.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion by Ross Williams, seconded by Wilson. Are there any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 11 is request of Eric Copeland to relinquish one automatic chest compression device of 4 to be received from the 2016 Regional EMS Grant to Superior Township in the amount of $1,863.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion Monica Ross, support Aldridge. Are there questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 12 is request authorization for the lease of Neo Post N710 mail machine with Malfeasance Incorporation for $352.90 per month for 60 months. Budget in line item 101-267-000-730-000.
Move to approve.
Support.
Motion Doe, support Eldridge. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 13 is request of Jeff Allen, Residential Services Director, to waive the financial policy and award the low quote to Spartan Distributors for the purchase of a Toro Groundsmaster mower in the amount of $60,000, $815.36, which is budgeted.
So moved.
Support.
Motion Rowe, support Gerald Rowe. Question?
I forgot to ask Jeff, why are we waiving the policy? Sorry, I forgot to ask you earlier.
It's all right. This is the same way we did it the last time, but we did get the quotes. But the policy would be to get sealed bids for it.
All right.
And the purchasing, I know that Giovanna's talked about it, that we need to adopt into our purchasing my deals, because that's not even in our policy as far as I know, and all the other purchasing type plans.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is request of Brian McCleary, Assistant Assessor, for approval of letter of agreement for sale of 110 Johnson Street to Myra Nelly in the amount of $2,500 plus closing costs.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Rose, support Ross Williams. Any question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 15 is a request to approve the principles of governance as recommended by the Michigan Township Association.
Move to approve.
Motion Wilson, support Eldridge. Is there questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 16 is request for authorization to withdraw from the interlocal agreement creating the Detroit Regional Aerotropolis Development Corporation dated June 17, 2009, per Article 8, Section 8.02, entitled Duration of Withdrawal from and Termination of the Interlocal Agreement.
Move to approve. Support.
Motion Doe, support Eldridge. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 17 and 18 is request to set public hearing dates of July 18th for creation of special streetlight special assessment districts, one for Turtle Creek and the other for Ford Lake Village at approximately 7 o'clock.
So moved.
Motion Rose, support Ross Williams. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion to
Motion carries.
adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, Wilson.
Move.
Support. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Good job. 5 minutes.
Stan, you too.
9 minutes? Or? Stan's got both of you beats in there. Oh, he's actually running. Huh? Who are you running to, Stan? Who are you running to? The Morris Day concert?
What was that? I didn't hear it.
He went to the Morris Day concert. He said that basically.
Good night, Jimmy. Good night, Douglas. You heard the update, let me know.
Doug don't want nobody to forget he went to Will Run, okay? Yeah, that's what he said.
I'm the same, but it's not.
They're all bad. But I mean,
All right, save
Right.
I mean, people have TAs all the time.
I don't know. I'm not going to say anything else. That's it? I'm glad you asked. I'm going to show you something. I'm going to show you something.